But I just want to join the tower on glasses. Yeah.
Your suggestion.
Two more things like platters.
She does. What I read. I mean, that's what, yeah, me too, that's all I'm saying.
I self-diagnosed.
Call meeting to order. I'd like to join the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to turn off the, shut off the water bills and the tag for 60 days past due.
I'll make the motion.
Christie? Rob?
Water bills, delinquent
Anyone
waters.
else? Second. Call vote.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Report from the Finance Committee.
We'll just be down in appropriation.
All right, fine. All right, meeting of May 13th. Minutes have been distributed. We have no corrections, additions, or alterations. Entertain a motion to have them stand. Second, Rob?
I second.
Call vote.
Aye. Aye.
Is our number under the high school sidewalk correct? This is typo. Typo? Okay. Aye. For page 2, third paragraph, I think it's, I'm sure it's a typo.
5,000.
Yeah. This is 0 there, okay.
I just got this one.
Right over the top of that. City Clerk's cash receipt report. Cindy?
Okay, total cash receipts for the month of May, $71,354.28.
Motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Don, call vote.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Reports from city employees, committee chairs. Shane?
I have nothing to report other than we're still waiting to make repairs on the RO, which should be in the next 30 days.
And for the cemetery. Streets?
I know Mike's been out driving some streets and of course we don't have the money to fix everything, so we'll have to prioritize what we're going to repair and what we're not.
Water? Police? Frank?
We didn't have our meeting this month, so we're good. We got our phone numbers all straight around now, so. Do we have to have a meeting, or can we just, post a meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have to post it.
It has to be in person, I don't know.
I'm sorry.
You have to meet in person or on the phone?
There is a provision for people attending meetings electronically, but the meeting itself has to be a physical meeting.
And we will have one at least either on or before that.
Where? Parks. There we go.
Oh, parks.
I'm
I
sorry.
know we're scheduling meetings to meet with some people up there. I thought the Earth was gonna be tomorrow, but it's postponed to next week, and we're just playing with numbers to see what we can take advantage of. Is that the only stuff?
Mark put these in box catalogs. I was in the park the other day and asked the kids what they'd like to see, and they said new nets.
Mhm.
And then they wanted to know if maybe we could get them a basketball to play with. Oh, you know, it'd be like have a budget for 3 basketballs a year, when they're gone, they're gone.
They quit writing on stuff, I'll buy it 3.
Anything else from committees? Okay, we have the finance committee, Rob, and their claims.
Yeah, there's nothing, as you can see, nothing out of the ordinary. Payroll is right along at what it normally is, so I make a motion that we submit, approve the submitted claims.
Second.
Second.
All right. Roll call.
Aye.
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 Aye. And we voted on the water bills. Bruce?
Report item would be kind of later on some ordinances that I had prepared for you.
Yeah.
Let me do that now.
About the ordinances
Well, I had, as far as I know, it still hasn't been signed. There's a proposal that was passed by the legislation to allow video gambling. I'm not sure, I don't have a complete ordinance book for Toulon, but I have prepared, in the event the council would choose to do so, an ordinance which would permit video gambling if that law were to pass. Licensee would have to, the person who has the machines for video gambling would have to comply with all the requirements of the Illinois Gaming Board to be licensed pursuant to Illinois statute in order to have video gambling machines. If they would comply with all of those requirements, to be able to operate one in the city of Toulon if that ordinance would pass. The second ordinance, hiring standards for part-time police officers. Illinois statutes require that part-time police officers employed by municipality have to meet certain standards, and they also require municipalities to pass an ordinance which requires that their part-time police officers meet those standards. So that's what that ordinance would do. And finally, I presented an ordinance on which we do annually, a prevailing rate of wages. It's established by the Department of Labor for the entire county of Stark County. But that would be public works contracts and the wages that would have to be paid to comply with public works acts.
Thank you. Rich St. John, Stark County Economic Development.
Sitting in the B team today.
The B team, looks to me like the A team.
Dennis not here, so we have the B team. Now I just dropped it in there. Well, I saw by the last minutes that you'd like to meet with us. Maybe we can explain what we're doing. And then go around some handouts, but I actually dropped them so they're going fast. Economic development is probably, I think, misunderstood. As you know, I just came on board in March or April. And one of the things that I realized right away was that we had a communication problem. So I'm going to address 3 C's: communication, cooperation, and commerce. We don't have a communication problem with the cities such as yourself, but we also have a problem with communicating with the community. So we started dressing up our Facebook page, and we're up 577% on activity on that. So that's working. Thanks to Stark County News, we also have a monthly column, which will be in there this coming Thursday. So we've addressed a lot of the communication problem. And I think maybe we need to understand with you folks what we do, what we don't do, okay? Economic development has really became in the fold in the last, let's call it 21st century. I'll give you an illustration. Henry County's economic development. Kewanee has their own, Geneseo has their own, Galva has their own. Stark County, we're small, and we don't have the funds, so we put this up as a county project, sharing the cost with everybody. Chillicothe hired a heavy hitter out of Peoria, and that cost us $68,000 a year just for that. So to give you an idea of what the wheels of the economic development turn slowly but steady. A lot of things behind the scenes. We're working on a number of projects right now that I really can't talk about because it'll be a jeopardy if we do. And we have press behind me, citizens, so I can't really discuss them. But going back to the 3 C's, communications. We think there's a lack of communications. We think there's a lack of understanding of what we do and functions. And one of the functions that we fill in, and I will hand out a little later, I call it the hub, is that we're the hub of the commerce of activity. Whether you need lending institution, location, data, sales tax data, whatever data you might need, whatever assistance you might need, leases, with banking, with grants, with loans. But we have to have input from people saying we need this and what we need and what we can do. And we can take it from there. As I say, we're working on a number of projects now. There's a new loan system out you read about in the paper Thursday called Advantage Illinois. And they got the money. They want to lend it. It's in cooperation with the banks. The nice thing about it, they wish they left the word Illinois out of there because it's not with the state of Illinois. It's federal funds administered by the Economic Development and the Department of Commerce. So the governor and one of the legislators, this lockbox has no hands on it. So we do a lot of functions. Cooperation, a lot of times we are your arm. We are actually, if you would think of this, and we encourage you to do that, we are the economic arm. You had different committee reports. We are the economic committee. Whether you have something going on that you want us to get involved with, or to investigate, or to find out what cost, what funds available, or what legal stuff available, we can do it. So we need to create more of a two-way dialogue. Commerce, we need to stabilize it, work on growth, and make that growth sustainable. I'm here tonight to see you are in the rears. I'm here tonight to see if you are going to stay with us or not. We need to plan accordingly. So we need an answer on what you might be. Any questions?
Rich, on the loan program, business loans, is that what that is? For
There's a series of them, including venture, okay? The state has $68 million. If they don't get rid of it, the Fed takes it back. So we're really encouraging. Basically what they do is they guarantee, if you go in and say you want $100,000 loan, they would guarantee $25,000 each year. And their rate would be 2% lower than the bank. So when you meld that together, if the bank sits there and gets 4, you're getting about a 5% loan. But the bank may look at it because their liability went from 100% to 75%. There are some strings attached to some of them because they're tied to a if you want For every $25,000 you ask on most of them, not all, you must employ one full-time person. And one full-time person. Other than that, the money's available. We had a meeting last week, and both the state bank and Toulon and Spear were interested in our signing up. Any questions, other questions?
You mentioned grants. Do you have a grant writer, someone that writes grants for you?
We have a grant writer, we have business plan writers. The thing that I know overwhelming is the contacts that we have are unbelievable. It's taken years to do that. I don't care whether it's with the SBA or through Blackhawk, through Bradley, through the University of Illinois, the government, or whatever it might be. We have zillions of contacts, and we get stuff every day. I mentioned this loan because in this case, they want to use the money. And the banks indicated us they want to loan money, but they're also very tight. So this helps them and helps the community. And it's one of the things that Toulon's done that looks to be a good program. Any other questions? I could go on and on. Just brief because I could go on and on.
Well, the city could certainly use some help with grant writing because there is a lot of money out there. And grant writing is something that takes someone who's good at writing.
We have 3 grant writers.
And it takes someone who has the time to devote to it and stick with it. And there's a lot of funds out there. And when we looked at the park, there are a number of grants from small city grants, $75,000 range. And a few grants, of $75,000 make a world of difference to a town like ours.
25,000.
Anything.
And that's my feeling about the two-way street. We don't know what you want unless you tell us, and then we can do research. We have a handful of research people that can do that.
I've been contacted by various companies who have specialized in grant writing and finding grants for you.
For a fee.
For a fee. It's always for a fee. It would be really nice if somebody worked on a commission basis, and you would feel a lot better about it. That is an area, I think, that for small communities like ours is one of the few sources of outside income left to us.
I will tell you that grant money is not available as much as it was. I mean, you're on a specific path, but as a general rule, there is not as much grant money for you. Both the feds broke, the states broke, the counties broke.
But there's some private money out
Yes,
there.
there is.
There is some private money out there.
And
that
if you can
get.
tell us what it's specific to, we have numerous contacts that we can run into. We have good contact with the state, Illinois Institute of Rural Affairs, SBA. We're working with a company right now on getting government contracts because it's minority business. Some plan called Hub Z, nobody's ever heard of it. But we uncovered it, because somebody asked us, we uncovered it. Now we've got a professional from the Quad Cities, Gratis. So these are the things that we can only help if we're asked, because we don't know. Okay? I think that's probably the biggest thing. Business plans. A lot of times people won't go to the bank because they don't know business plan. They can write a business plan.
I think I'd just like to make a clarification because the comment has now been made from the economic development a couple times that the city of Toulon is in arrears. We are not in arrears. The last commitment that we made, we did pay. And then we said we'd like, before we make any further commitment, we'd like to kind of get an idea of what we're seeing in return for it. And that's where it just feels like all communication stopped.
Apparently did.
So,
Because we didn't, at least I didn't know by the message that you had. Because this goes back to last year. At that time you decided to not be part of us.
correct.
That's the first time I heard. So that's why you're in arrears. So if that was the case, then we had to do something.
I think last year was handled as a TIF grant, was it not? We were paying it out of TIF because it is a TIF eligible sort of expense, so to speak.
5, 6, 5.
The section was there.
We went down and made, I think, 1,500 and said before we made any further commitment, we wanted some discussion.
I'm hoping we can get a result tonight. We need to know as to where we're going. Because if you're not going to be, we're going to go in a different direction. We operate on the front now. We operate on a budget of about $30,000. That's awfully low. can find, if there's grant money out there, we can find it. If we know what it's targeting.
The grants, you can do the research to find, there's one soap company this is June, last February, there was one that came up. It was a little short notice, but we found it, I found it, but it had to be in like 30 days. But it was $75,000, and it was for small communities, and it was for parks. Some company is trying to get good public relations, wanted to spread a little money around small communities so that they can use this development, helping cities develop safe, wholesome parks, and use it in their advertising. So they weren't totally altruistic, but it was out there, and it was for small towns. But again, it comes back to writing the grant. It takes a wordsmith to do it.
There are people that write grants.
There are people. The last time we wrote one,
We know it's free.
it cost us about $2,200 last time we wrote one. We can't spend that kind of money. Because you write 10 grants to get one. And some might call that gambling, I don't know. But if we had a way to write grants, I know that in time we would get it. It just takes the effort. It is work. Everybody agrees.
That's what we're supposed to do. That's what we do. Again, it has to be something that we know about. And research and give you answers back and keep you up to date on what you're doing. Any other questions?
It's been before the council previously. Do we have a motion to proceed with this, to elicit further discussion? Technically, we need a motion and a second to discuss it further.
Right. Well, I'd like to make a motion that we do. I know there's been discussion amongst, but I do think there's some good, and I don't want to see us really back out of this. So I'd like to make a motion that we at least make a partial or think about continuing and doing this soon.
Number in mind? I think Richard likes that number.
Whatever you want to decide is fine with us. What we need is, are you in or you're out, and if you're in, let them out.
Are you on calendar years or are you on fiscal year?
We're on a calendar year. This is our fourth quarter.
So we're actually, this fiscal year, we've committed nothing. Last fiscal year, which ended April 30th, I have to ask to see what we actually contributed, but we're looking forward to this fiscal year, which is till April 30th for us next year. So do you have a motion or what you like to see between now and
April 30th? Motion that we would approve 1,500 more for this year, and then discuss this on at least a quarterly and keep on.
So you want to revisit it?
Where's the 1,500 going to put us in total? You say 1,500 more?
Well,
Right.
it's
We
6,000.
basically do what we did a year ago, make a $1,500 commitment.
Right.
And
1,500
then,
a quarter.
Okay. 6,000. We have, other than the parks, we have no other TIF accounted for this year. Yeah. I know we haven't come, but
Is any of that still covered by TIP?
what's that?
Might we going to spend that?
yes.
Yes, it would all come out of TIF.
Okay.
So you're making a motion that we contribute to the Stark-on Economic Development, 1,500
No,
dollars, and then in August, revisit this again.
Yeah, I'll second that. I'm interested in the grant writing part. I'd like to get
Sure.
some answers.
We can work with anything, but we can't work with unknown. That's really what I'm saying. Okay? I mean, obviously, we don't want to consider anywhere to dissolve, but then that may be whatever we wants to do. That's up to you. But right now, we're going on false numbers, as it turns out, so we need to know what it is.
If you get help and you get one grant, you paid for your $6,000 many times over.
Many times.
So
That's what we're supposed to be. I can't we're the economic arm of your committee, so we'll be here every month if you want to, at least give you a written report. Schedule folks, that's what we do.
since we don't have a grant writer among us, or anybody that we know that does, use the help.
We have a motion and a second to $1,500 to Stark County Economic Development, revisit in the August meeting, and then at that point vote for another $1,500. Come up again, I guess, in November. So we just have to make sure that we get it on the agenda in August and November and February. I'm sorry.
I bet we will.
Oh, good. Good. Any further discussion? Not call the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for your time, thank you.
Thanks, Rich. A little housekeeping, we have our, should this be 2013 appropriation?
2012.
Get it right. Fiscal year 2013. Yeah. I had trouble with that.
I thought last year we were going off.
Yeah. We have the 2012-2013 fiscal year appropriation here. Rob spent quite a bit of time working on this. Shane helped him. And again, the appropriations is a legal document, a requirement that we vote on each year and publish. The entire appropriations list far exceeds any assets or money that we have. The reason we appropriate, for example, $38,000 for employees, that's the maximum that we can spend. We don't intend to spend that much, but should some unforeseen circumstance occur, you could spend up to that amount. We find that in various areas, like the water fund, there are some funds that are highly inflated. If we have our old plant go down and we need membranes, have to buy membranes, unless we've appropriated the money, we legally can't spend it. So the appropriations is basically a legal document that we file with the state of Illinois, which says that we will not spend more than this money on any given category. Any questions on the appropriations? Some of you have done this many times before. I think this is your first, second appropriation. First. It never makes sense when you do it the first time.
Yeah, I did it the first time 1 month in. So we went over basically what was spent and how close we got and items like that. We were able to come down about 15.5, almost 16% from the previous year. And the previous year had basically been based on the year before that, without knowing the changes. So
You're budgeting an increase, a flexible increase. Notice you're not going to go above it.
right, but we've actually appropriated down from what was appropriated last year. And then we've given a spot where we can plug the actual budget in and then see how we go against the appropriations. And it's just the new computer, the new programs, and what everybody at the office is doing, Barbara and Teresa and everybody, has really helped setting this up. So it makes it a lot easier and it'll be easier to track, I think, in the future.
As a side note, when you look at this, remember that the water department stands on its own. When we created our water and sewer department in 1908, we said that the water department can only take in the funds that it needs to operate, and that it can assess the funds that it needs to operate. So to that extent, Shane's salary comes out of the water department, but all the other expenses come from the water department. And the water department is, in essence, its own separate entity. If you look at the rest of the city expenditures and you take out everything as motor fuel tax, basically our budget is our payroll. Vast majority of the money we take in is salaries and labor, vast expense. Another high expense item is electricity. People don't realize how much we spend on electricity, but when you look at the monthly bills, it's surprising. Well, streetlights don't come cheap. And, talk about grant writing, one of the things we could really look at would be some LED streetlights. It would probably save us $40,000 a year to have LED streetlights. The thing is, they cost a lot of money. So, with that in mind, any discussion on the appropriations? Not will entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the 2012-13 appropriation.
Misty seconds. Call the vote.
Aye.
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 TIF applications. I have 3 new TIF applications. I have one from Gibbler's Ice. They're requesting $7,133.20. He's installing a RO system to make his ice. We have an application from the Masonic Lodge. They'd like to spiff up the front of their building, 200 block of West Main. And they're asking 65% of $22,500. And one for the library. I believe it's $12,000, yes. They're requesting $12,000 so that they can comply with the city's storm water runoff ordinance. Is that correct, Shane?
Yes.
Stormwater runoff. We have an ordinance that says if you build a structure on city property or in the city, that the structure must comply with storm drain off requirements of the city. You have to provide for the extra water that's going to go into our storm sewers. With a roof area, I think it's 7,200 feet. I don't have the numbers. Greg gave them to me once, but it's a lot of gallons of water. It ends up out the street, used to soak in, so that's the next one.
We tell on Gibbler's request, 7,100, is that their total bill?
I just got it tonight as well. It looks like that's what they spent. They have a bill from Stash. Stash is soft water for 5,700.
Yeah.
Yes, some pipe and some other things. So they're asking for 100% of $7,100.
Have you looked at this stuff, Teresa? Is it all, is it tip eligible in your opinion?
In '08, you approved money for Gibbler Ice, but they had not put in a formal application. So I don't know how long that is approved for.
I guess once the fiscal year is gone, it's just...
Okay, well, I didn't know, so I brought the old paper with me.
And where do we stand on the application from Roach Family?
They are withdrawing.
They're withdrawing their application.
And it's nothing, they're not upset or anything, but he's going to do this on his own. And I told him if at any time in years to come, if he would like to redo it, he could. He's going to do something else.
Well, we have to look carefully at the TIF. Of course, if we approve $210,000 out of the next 3 years for the city park, that's pretty much the lion's share. We take out the money we owe the city for the water department. It doesn't leave a whole lot without doing the math. Shannon, have you done the math on this TIF to see how much money we actually have that's disposable?
No, because we haven't got figures in the county.
And I don't think there's $20,000 left in TIF this year.
Do we know how much we did?
No. Usually we got the letter from Sandy Richardson by March every year, and we have not heard a thing from the courthouse.
Two last Friday. committed. this
Last
year.
meeting, Rob, you said 20,000 for other projects and 20 for the city and 70 for the park.
Right.
Well, that would be 110. I think last year we got 106 from the county TIF, so I don't anticipate any big increase. But if we got 106 last year, we get 110 this year, why that's basically leaves you with $20,000 for everything. So no sidewalks, no other projects.
But the sidewalks, doesn't any of that come out of the person who constructed the engineering firm? I mean, when they designed the building for them, they must have just known that and said, we have to allow for this in our price of the library.
We told them last year that they had to allow for that. And their plans basically said provided by others. And we'd asked them, I think, 2 times or 3 times since last autumn to provide us with the stormwater runoff plans.
So we
Yeah,
become the other.
this is, I guess, the first time we heard anything officially from them. Go ahead, Shane.
Frank, those are 2 separate items, though. They're requesting tonight for stormwater drainage, not sidewalk. And in their blueprint, they will be placing the sidewalk in front of the library that they have tore up during construction. So they're not asking for assistance on sidewalk, they're only asking for assistance on their holding pond and stormwater drainage.
Didn't that have, wasn't any of that included when there was the original plans?
It was designed, and they sent the paperwork to our engineer. Our engineer signed off on it, and they designed a holding pond. The outlet from the holding pond has no tile to go to, so therefore it has to be run 500 feet. What they're asking for is assistance in running that 500 feet. And I spoke with them, they filled out their TIP application. The total cost of the project is $12,000, according to their engineer. So that's 100%. So if you want to address it and go 50-50 city/library, you could cut that application in half. But that also was going to be a paved driveway. It is now going to be a gravel driveway. So you won't see quite the runoff either. But basically what they're asking for is stormwater, not sidewalk.
What are you thinking, Frank? That was part of our discussion last month about the sidewalk out to the library.
Yeah, and this is a different,
Yeah, that's
Two separate issues.
no sidewalk. Basically, we're not looking at any capital improvement in the city at all this year.
And if we don't do storm, if we don't do it with TIF and we do it storm drain, of course, it'd be general fund, right, out of general fund.
Storm drainage can fall under general fund or motor fuel tanks.
So we could use a lot, what I'm getting at though, is it's either general or we could use motor fuel. Now,
It's eligible.
right, but our motor fuel, of course, is tight. Very tight.
Well, I think these are all new. There'll be a lot of questions to ask. What we're looking at now is a preliminary application, so I think we're not looking to vote on anything here tonight. These should all, I think, be carried over till next month. The TIF, we need to look at it really hard because we don't even know how much money we're getting in TIF.
Actually, we might have that figured next month.
Hopefully, yeah.
They'll have our taxes.
The TIF money to the library, with the holding retaining outside of there is. TIF money from that have to be sort of put higher on our priority list because of the fact that it has to be done.
I think we really need to prioritize this TIF money. It has been an issue since the beginning, how we spend that money and how it best benefits the community as a whole. So, yes, we want to encourage business, but do we want to basically subsidize everyone who spends some money to buy a piece of equipment?
I mean, the TIF is supposed
It's
to.
okay, it's legal and it's legitimate,
Yeah.
But I think it should be open to public discussion. I'd like to see some input from the community on these things.
Well, and I'll just say on that, the Masonic Lodge one, I was just having to look at it. To me, that was like exactly what we said. We were looking for where TIF was gonna go, was exterior improvement, make Main Street look nicer. Yeah, I know there's things that have to be done that you don't necessarily see and appreciate, but.
You know, there's somewhere you have to draw the line. Technically, when TIF was sold, it was sold as a jobs creation fund. So we look at all of these things, how many jobs are being created by fixing a storm runoff at the library, or helping Mr. Gibbler buy a RO machine, or by having the Masonic Lodge buy windows. How many people are employed when the city invests this money? And so it's people's tax dollars that we're spending. You know, how do they feel about it? To me, a job is somebody who can buy a home or rent a home, who hopefully has a family, maybe kids in school. So
The only other thing, I don't know if this applies, is if you do improve the building and the building increases in
Yes.
value,
Yes.
then we get tax dollars out of that. So,
that only applies to private property, though. So Masonic Lodge, I don't know if that's taxable, if that's tax exempt, is it? Fraternal organization, they're not tax exempt, or they pay tax? I don't either. The library doesn't pay tax. But then we have helped the school. And I think justifiably so, in the case of the school. Well, we have to look at our own physical plan. I think one of the things that we're going to be looking at down the road is going to be somebody else's problem. The state of Illinois and the federal government is going to be coming down on communities like ours with a ton of bricks next year. The rules go into effect on sewage and septic systems. We have a complaint now in the city about some sewage showing up on the side of a hill, rightfully so. Right now, it's still pretty much a private issue. Next year, it's going to be a federal issue. And the federal government is going to come in, and the old septic tanks that people put in for years aren't going to go anymore. The kind of money, what used to be $10,000 is going to be double and triple, they tell me. This is David says from Public Health in Kewanee. So we're going to be looking at some issues down the road in that. And I've always been strong with TIF being something that we use for improving the community and for infrastructure, but we have to look at these things pretty hard. So I would suggest we look at these again next month.
yeah. The library especially, I think we need the county to go on though for the storm, for the runoff.
Well, we did give 10 to the county, and we helped repair their curbs, but the 10,000 for the cupola project was well in advance. That was in their planning stages, because I think the council felt that the courthouse is an integral part of the community, and we really didn't want to see that cupola go by the wayside. So hopefully that will be money well spent. All right, anything else on the old business or unfinished business? Mike, you came in, do you have anything to contribute up there?
We drove the streets, we'll be getting a report back. They will probably need to go to the council or committee and be pared down to where we want, put a figure on how much we want to spend to do it.
All right, moving along here to public concerns before we get into new business. New faces here tonight. Do we have any public concerns? Yes, Mr. Muscle.
Well, on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, we would like access or be able to utilize some of the planter boxes that are down at the city building. I don't know if you guys are well aware, but there's multiple ones down there that we'd like to spruce up the downtown area and utilize. We're willing to do the labor and do the planning and everything. Just would like city permission or whatever we need.
With our blessings, I think we can bring them and deliver them, can't we? I thought we had already discussed this.
We would like to eventually do away with we want to talk to Mike and Shane about this, but eventually do with the holes, which my understanding were once trees in some cases, and now are just overgrown weeds. I don't know, we thought about doing fundraisers to fill them in the future, but at least for now, we'd like to put the planter boxes uptown. And maybe even have businesses sponsor them.
We're ready to do it, Jason. We're ready to go.
Okay.
I think maybe Mike was waiting for somebody to tell him where to put them or something.
Well, if it's all right with you, we'll plan all that and organize
All right,
it.
we'll be all over that. And you're really hurting my feelings when you say that you heard that there used to be trees on Main Street.
I remember the trees. Not all of them.
I really feel old there. I remember the street. Anything else? All right. Fred, is Fred here? Fred wanted to ask about a beer tent for Old Settlers. Fred Sams. Do we have an Old Settlers representative anywhere in the crowd here?
I'll talk on behalf of Fred. This will be the annual request for the beer tent. Same location as we've done in the past. We've extended the offer to the TAP as well, and they have politely declined because of their situation. And this is Fred's request to extend an off-site premise license, special liquor license for the purpose of Old Settlers, which will be August 2nd through 5th with the theme of Salute to the Troops. It'll be a patriotic theme with involvement from the Peoria National Guard, Kiwani, Armory, and along with possible, keep our fingers crossed, the Army National Guard band out of Springfield.
Well, normally it could just be an administrative thing, but I think we should possibly toss that out and make it a motion to extend a similar off-premises license extension as we did last year.
I would make a motion to give them
You have
their
a second?
off-site beer tent, and then make a note that we need to again ask for additional control.
We have a motion and a second. We have a discussion.
Was there any problems last year, Terry?
I think just one minor altercation that really didn't matter too much. I think it was a new boyfriend issue with the girlfriend that got resolved peacefully.
I heard it was hot under the beer tent. That made people thirsty. Is that planned?
I don't know.
No further discussion. We'll call a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
No. Okay. I have a gambling ordinance prepared by our city attorney. Many of you are probably aware that the state of Illinois either has or is about to or is probably going to pass a law extending two public establishments. What's that? I skipped one. Gambling?
Carolyn.
Oh, Carolyn.
Clean up Carolyn.
I'm here.
Carolyn, go back up. Carolyn, I'm sorry.
Everybody's here.
I'm here.
You're kind of hiding behind Misty there.
No, I'm here
All right.
in person.
You're here in person.
Mr.
You brought
St.
Ariel on too.
Mr. St. John hit the nail on the head when he said a lack of communication. I'll start with that. I am on the health board and have been for years, and part of your alderman did not even know that there was a health board that existed. I have been approached by many people about health issues, and I've tended to some of them. But the one that is bugging everybody in this town is the issue of the house on Union and Culbertson Street. Now that's a health issue. A health issue is big. You've got rodents. We're going to have a manifestation of every rodent up there. Rabies is in the area. It's time to do something with that place. I have taken it upon myself to go around the proper orbit to get something done. Have heard nothing. Absolutely nothing. I started with my alderman. I was told I can't do anything about it. Call City Hall. I called City Hall. I talked to Bart. said, I'll put notes on Mr. Collins' desk. At that point, I decided that I was getting nowhere. I called the health department. They agreed with me. They said, "You stay on it." So I waited another week. I called City Hall again, and I talked to Shane. And Shane said, "I'll put notes on the desk." Okay? Notes went on the desk. Nothing was done. I heard nothing. I waited another week. I called City Hall after calling the health department again, and she said, "We're having a meeting with the county next week, and you be there." Something came up and I couldn't be there, but she said, "I will bring it up." And she did. So then I called City Hall again. I talked to Teresa, and she said she'd leave notes. I heard nothing. So I called the health department again, and she said there will be a meeting Monday, and if you can make it, the county meeting, you come. And I couldn't make it. So then she said, "Be sure you get on the agenda for the city council. If the city does not want to do anything, the county must." Now I think we owe the citizens of Toulon some answer as to why nothing is being done with this place. And I'm hurt because nobody ever called me back. Nobody. Except the health department.
Bruce, what are our options with this property? Now, we have met with the health department.
I know they were down
I
here.
have met with the people who own the property.
After I called them twice, they made a trip to Toulon.
I'm sorry.
The health department came down and said they met with two people, you and Shane, after the fact. And she said, "You go to the meeting and get back with me. And action must be taken."
The city has ordinances. The ordinances must be enforced. To enforce the ordinance, you need someone to write the ticket. My experience with writing complaints has not met with very happy success. No one in this town has, to my knowledge, written a citation recently on any of these properties. We have had some success in getting some properties cleaned up. We've got one property gone, we've got another property agreed to be gone, another property I think is pending. We did get the old agri-power torn down. I mean, it's harder than you believe. We have had people offer to toss a match into that place. And we've had assurances from other folks that they would let the fire burn for a while before the fire department was called. So that's not an option. But legally, Bruce, what options do we have, other than to write a violation of the city ordinance?
Well,
Other
I mean,
than that?
The property is in a dangerous condition. It's creating a health problem. There's a state statute, whether we have an ordinance or not, there's still a state statute that gives the city authority to abate this condition. But you have to provide notice, so I need more information. I don't know which property we're talking about.
Right across from the cemetery.
No, I mean, who owns those lots? Okay. You need, to serve them, serve the owner. You need to post it. You can't find them. I'm trying to remember the time limits on that, but I believe it's 10 days. And after that, you can file for demolition order.
Well, this has been there for almost a year.
Yes, it has. Yeah.
Well, you have to still provide the notices, whether it's been there a year or longer. You would still need to give notices. So it can be done.
We have ordinances for about everything. It's simply a matter to enforce them. Unless we have the will to enforce them, nothing's going to happen. We have ordinances that prohibit people having mulberry trees on their property. I don't know that anyone's ever been cited for that. We have ordinances that prohibit people who allow weeds and things to grow up on their property in the city. That's not ever been enforced. We have ordinances about grass growing along the right-of-way in the city. 8 inches of grass, the city can mow it and send you a bill. It's never happened. We have to have the will to do it. In the past, some have tried. I know that when Larry came on the board some many years ago, it was something he was very interested in. But you find out you run into a brick wall.
But this is a health hazard.
It is a health hazard, and we know that there are varmints in it. We know that there are houses in town have raccoons and rats in them.
Of course there are.
To what? To enforce the ordinances?
Go forward on this one.
I think the fact that I was able to get this many people very fast to come and show their faces at a city council meeting means something.
Can we go in first? Can we just go in and clean it up?
No.
And build it?
No, it's not a property.
Not much
We need, the direction is given to me, can prepare the proper notes, and we can go from there. What I need is direction from the board in the form of a motion.
I would make a motion to serve them notice, yeah, I mean, that's.
Besides the health hazard, everybody that comes into Toulon sees this place. We have new members in our neighborhood, and they say, what's the deal with this place across from the cemetery? I mean, it gives us a pretty bad face.
I have talked to the owners about 3 times on this, Carolyn.
I don't doubt that.
I don't know what to say, because no results is bad results. And I've had no results with them at all. And we've had them come to the city and want to get another property, buy another house.
But they do it too.
And we basically said, pay your old bills first. And they got angry and stomped out and called me a few things that you can't print in the paper. I have made an offer. One of the family members has a large restitution going to the city. We have gone so far as to offer to wipe the slate clean. Give us a quick claim deed on the property. Nothing. The only thing left that I can do as mayor is to write a citation. That has not worked very well in the past for me. So we can have Mr. Fernbacher send them a letter, but again, it only bears the weight of the ordinance that we have passed in the city. If they choose to ignore it.
Well, eventually, the procedure would permit us to go out there and clean up the property.
Right.
The problem will be is the cost. The city will have to bear those costs. It could be a lien on the property. We could try to collect it from the property owner and from the property. But initially, the city will have to pay the cost. We will get an order. We'll clean it up or they'll clean it up, one or the other. So.
Could we get money from TIP on that?
It's gonna make the city look better.
Well, I think Mr. Fernbacher has the right. We've tried everything other than if we pass a motion to authorize Bruce to go after this with what resources he has available to him. I would like to see a few citations issued to these people. That never happens. So the citations are $250, and the next month is $500. So after a few months, you basically have got enough.
What should they ever pay?
They're not going to pay them, and you put a lien on the property.
Citations.
The other thing is, as Bruce says, if you go the end run, it's going to be fairly expensive. It probably, I think it's only $6,000. Legal bills by the time we're done.
Oh, I know. Not in that one.
Because you have to have it condemned and then, report.
Well, I mean, I don't think there, this is that property that's homes. I don't think there's much issue that it's unsafe. So, generally where your costs could come in is if you have a building that we believe is unsafe, the owner does not, you may have these expenses. You're going to have to prove that it's unsafe. I think a couple of photographs here would probably.
Well, it sounds like we can prove it's unsafe.
It's unsafe.
But
Yes, it is. We don't know that there isn't another rabid animal in that degree that's up there. And it's multiplying.
There's there's
And you
a
can't
dozen
get out.
houses just like it.
As of Thursday, the health department agreed with Shane and I that they would step in and send some letters out. So they are going to issue letters through their office, and we can work on our side. It's not that we haven't tried.
And if we had more concerned people like you brought with you tonight, that these people here, you're not gonna have a problem with their properties are all gonna look good. The people that are concerned about things like that and take care of their property are never gonna be a problem. It's the people that don't really care and don't care what you say. They just do what they wanna do and ignore most of your efforts even to help them. We've helped clean up that property one time.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we went in there and cleaned up a lot of stuff there one day. Hauled a lot of stuff away, cleaned that property out.
You should have kept honest.
They just won't follow.
So where are we stand? What are we gonna do?
Okay, motion. We got it.
I mean, she told me to get back in touch with her after I've been to this meeting tonight.
Well, we'll start whatever legal action we can take against them.
And she said the county will handle it if, she said, you go to the meeting and open it up and see what they come up with, and then you get back with me, which I will do tomorrow morning.
Do we have the citations?
We do. And that's the problem. We just don't write any tickets for any of the things that we have.
Well, I think for the most part, we elected not to do citations because it did seem like people were working on making progress with most people. And the reason why most people don't do it is financial resources, so you finding them doesn't help get it cleaned up. But if these guys are not communicating with us, that's a totally different thing where we have to force them to communicate.
We're back to no communication again.
Yeah.
I don't know about everybody else, but when I come through a construction zone and that sign says fine $385,
Slow down.
I slow down.
Right.
Now, most communities, I know Kiwanee, they don't fool around with you. They write you a ticket, and people know that. But people know that we don't do it.
Rick,
Yes, we've got it.
whose authority is it to write a citation?
Police department.
Ma'am, I've talked to them, I've seen that the city's actually made a
Where's the
contract.
citation?
Ma'am, I've talked to the city attorney about this too. And I'm not the administrator that's enforcing this anymore. That's was taken away from me.
Well, we'll take the motion out, Bruce, pursue this.
Got a motion and a second.
Motion is to, any further discussion? Call the vote.
Aye.
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 Bruce is on it.
I think we ought to sign them also.
I didn't.
Dave?
Is that the only one you're gonna proceed on?
I have a few in mind.
I got nothing up the street for me.
If I can speak, Carolyn, I apologize if you were under the understanding that I was going to get back to you. I did follow through the lead notes. I also called the Board of Health and Medical Authority, brought the mayor in. We went up there. She's sending them a certified letter, the same as the council is this evening. We also toured 5 other properties on Thursday afternoon, which she will be citing also. And so again, I apologize if you felt that the city wasn't doing anything.
I started the 1st of May
I
because I
realize that,
said
but when you
Memorial Day is coming and we have people from out of state coming to see their loved ones' graves. They walk in town or drive in town, look across the street, and what do they see? I think it's a total disgrace.
And I agree with you.
And I started the 1st of May and I heard nothing
Well,
from anybody in this room
well,
after all my phone calls.
all I want to say to you is after I spoke with you, we did bring her in too. We met with her Thursday. She sent me a copy of the certified letter today. So I know that it has been sent to Slidings along with Busby's. And there was 5 properties that particular day. So, you know, maybe it wasn't as time as we wanted it, but it didn't fall into that figure. We did move forward with it.
But I didn't know that.
And I apologize for that, but sometimes it's not my job to always return phone calls. And I apologize for that, but it is moving forward on her hand, and tonight with theirs, that now makes the Board of Health and the city going after that property.
Well, there's no point in me even being on a health board if anything I see. I mean, I think I can name 5 things that I've seen in the past years and they've been taken care of. This time it just kind of went right down the hole and here it sits. And I thought, well, what's the point? But I'm not going to give up.
And we addressed the property closer to you on Thursday.
Thank you.
And we addressed the one on Clinton
Thank you.
Addressed the one on Main.
I appreciate
And
that.
addressed the one on Commercial. So we did physically take her around.
She told me
Showed her
you
all
did.
5 properties, and she did send me copies of the letter, so I do know that she did cite 5 properties this week.
Yes, she told me she did.
Carolyn, I apologize for not getting back to you myself. You have called me before, and we have got some things done, you and I. I left town, I think, the day after Barb gave me the last note. I had one note that said Carolyn called, and honestly, I thought you were referring to a house on South Street, but that's beside the point. I should have called you back that night, but I didn't get back to it. I do apologize, but you and I have worked together on a few problems.
That's true.
And we have got some things done, and we have got a couple of houses down, and I'm hoping to get 2 more this summer. But I would have never believed in a million years how much resistance there is to getting the property cleaned up and to get it to the most unexpected quarters. Some of these places have no water, they have no sewer system, they have no windows. You can't really call them a home or a house.
Well, that's another thing I was going to mention, but that I do know that there's one family living in a house where there's no water, which is totally off base.
We had people living in a driveway of a home in a camper. And
They go somewhere
the
else.
house wasn't fit to live in, but they kept the camper in the driveway for a few weeks and finally gave up on the idea of doing anything with the house. And we have people living in a lean-to with a dirt floor right now. The lady's expecting a child. So I'm a little concerned about that. There are some other issues with that property as well.
Well, anyway,
What do you do other than to bring Mrs. David? And I mean, Mrs. David is the person that we can only go to in some of these situations. But we do what we can. Believe me, if the community is together, and the council and the community have the will and the desire to get these properties cleaned up, they'll get cleaned up. But we have to have some of this. We have to have some of this here and on Main Street as well. Let's work together. Let's get rid of some of these problems.
Well, it takes time and it's not easy.
It's not easy.
You never know when you're going to get slapped in the face.
You never know. I'm sorry. Well, Carolyn, now we can go on to the gambling ordinance, all right? Thank you. The state of Illinois is in the process of passing an ordinance to allow gambling in bars, other places, I guess. All the cities have to pass an ordinance to say it's okay. I'm sorry?
They don't have to pass it.
We don't have to.
No. If my understanding is, the governor's not signed this law yet, but I'm not sure of that. But the legislature did pass a law permitting, among other things, video gambling in accordance with the regulations issued by an application to the Illinois Gaming Board. The ordinance, which I prepared and I think has been passed around, would permit video gambling in the city of Toulon if that law is actually signed by the government. Or the veto is overruled. The council does not have to pass this. I'm not sure what as I said before, I don't have a complete code, so I'm not sure if currently your ordinance does not permit gambling on video devices. Wyoming did not have an ordinance to that effect. I still prepared one for them as well, just to make it clear if the council chooses to permit this, that it's clear that someone can have a video gambling device.
I think the first week had us repealing anything that is enforced.
Anything that's in conflict.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd like to hold this over, with the council, until next month for any citizen input to this. Some people are very sensitive to issues like gambling, and since it has not been passed by the state, there's no point in us getting into a big rush. But anyway, that is out there. We have an ordinance amending the hiring for part-time police officers. Okay, Bruce?
This is the standard. It's the standards that are in this ordinance are taken directly from the statute itself, which requires municipalities to implement and have an ordinance implementing these standards if they're going to hire part-time police officers. They would require to have these standards in the past. I think there's been a slight change to the state statute regarding those standards. I don't know that presented by council.
You don't have this.
Yeah. Got it.
But in order to have part-time officers employed, you do need this ordinance in effect.
We have a motion regarding the ordinance amending the hiring standards for part-time police officers.
I'll make a motion to accept this order.
All right, thanks. The motion second. Rob seconds. Any discussion?
I have a question on the second page. It says discretion of the city authority. Does that include?
Under D.
Well, I believe the mayor, the individual who's the city authority who would ultimately hire or discharge. Now, the city council can, I don't normally believe the city council votes hire each of the part-time officer. Normally allow for the position to be filled, that's really filled by the chief executive officer.
Any other discussion? Questions? Jason, did you have?
It was just in my research, my expertise with the city authority, that's used to a general term because cities and villages are different and mayors and presidents along with village boards and councils are different. City or corporate authority refers to whoever's in charge for that incorporated area, is what I've discovered. Would you agree, Bruce?
I'm not sure what you said. Corporate authorities?
Corporate authorities and that language.
Different from city authorities?
No. It's referring to the council or the village board because councils and village board use different terms. So this is more of a general term.
It's a general term, that's correct, because in each, in some places, they might have a police commission.
Yes.
Which would handle hiring, firing, discipline, and so forth. And I think what I understand what you're saying. Normally when they say corporate authorities, they would mean city council or the village board. Or corporate authorities, city authorities. I think we're trying to refer to in this case, so I've taken this from the statute, is the person who would ultimately be a disciplinary officer for part-time. Because that's what that's referring to. Who would discipline the police chief? Who'd go up the line.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll call the vote.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. The last item I have is not the last, but the last item, which is again a little bit more housekeeping. It's the ordinance that we pass annually to approve payment of prevailing rate wages when the city hires outside contractors. We have not had any real policy on how much we spend, but we've always passed this ordinance. We must pass the ordinance because this is a requirement in the state of Illinois. I would like to have the council's input, though, as to the threshold level at which the council feels we must ask the contractor to provide us with a certified payroll. Certified payroll is basically a document which is notarized, which they're providing to us, which we put in the file, that certifies from that contractor that they have paid their employees pursuant to this state statute. Covers our backside, covers their backside. Some communities are very low, $2,000. Some are $5,000. Did we have a threshold ever changed? Some are 10. So I guess the question I would like to ask the council, and we don't have to make a resolution, but we can certainly get some guidance from you that when we hire someone, that we make it clear to that person that if this job exceeds a certain amount, that we will require from them certified payroll in order to comply with the statute.
I believe the statute sets out requirements that public works contracts based upon a dollar amount, and then you're required at that point. They're required to pay prevailing rate of wages. We're required to give them establishment of prevailing rate. We can require it or request it anytime they certify their payroll. So I would say anytime you have a public works contract that requires payment of prevailing rate of wages, you would get certified payroll. If it's not required, it's not required. So, the question here is simply passing. It is sort of an administrative function because we don't establish the prevailing rate. It's established by the Department of Labor, and they post it online. Anybody can go look at the state Department of Labor website. You can get month by month. Usually, it doesn't change much during the year, but we are required, if we're going to have any public work contract work done, but we require at a certain dollar amount, I believe it's $20,000, that the contractor must pay the prevailing rate. And we must have those workers in effect so that they can see what the prevailing rate is.
Now that covers his subcontractors too. If you hire a contractor.
I believe so.
Subcontractors.
I believe so. I don't know the exact dollar amount that requires the pay for prevailing rate.
NCIS told me that they don't do anything above 2,000. And many communities borrow about 5,000. So if you need to hire somebody, say to contract mowing, you want somebody to mow your ditches, because we don't have equipment to mow the ditches. If we hired somebody and they said, well, it's going to be $800, then we wouldn't require them to do this paperwork. If we were going to require them to.
There's a statute that deals with this. And I don't know the dollar amount.
NCIS says there is no, they don't have a dollar amount.
I think I'm not sure what that's about.
Who does set the prevailing wage?
Department of Labor.
Some guy in some office somewhere.
Yeah. Probably several of them. Yeah. In Springfield, the Department of Labor. I don't know, what methodology they use to come to their numbers.
And why do we have to pass an ordinance if it's already stated statute?
We just have to give notification of what it is.
You have to agree that we're going to do it.
What if we don't? What are they going to do?
We don't get any state money.
Right. They want to approve the project.
Yeah, you pretty much have
Anyway, I do think that once you get to a certain amount, in our benefit, we have it, because they have some things like
Right.
that.
We should protect ourselves, I think. But if I hire Brent, who's a single, he has his own business, and he doesn't have employees. He doesn't really need to do this. But if we hired him for $1,800 to paint this structure, we wouldn't need it. But if it was $2,100, then we would need it. So all I'm saying is that if we set a bar, change shaking your head.
I could be wrong, but my understanding of prevailing wage is that the owner is not paid prevailing wage.
Owner operator,
Only the people below.
Right.
If you contract one person who owns the company to pay, he can give you a bid.
Right.
If he hires someone, that person becomes part of the prevailing wage.
That's correct.
The owner's is
Right. But then the question, someone asked, what about if that person hires a
The
subcontractor?
sub
The sub has to provide,
has to provide his.
in any contract with the sub has to sign off.
But the sub does not have to pay himself for that.
Anybody you employ.
But if you employ somebody, you have to.
Then it would
This
not.
is more applicable to a company that has several employees, that they have to show that they pay that prevailing wage.
All that's beyond the scope of this, because this is just establishing if the prevailing rate of wages must be paid, these are what the prevailing rate is. And that's all this is. It doesn't establish when to apply under the public works contracts, which fall within the requirements of paying the prevailing rate.
Any other discussion? Entertain a motion.
I so moved.
Aye.
Second.
All right, we'll vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. We have TIF again. Just a
Well, I
typo.
think that the first one was for the old, that went away, and so we just
We
did
just
that.
did all. Nothing further.
Before I make a motion to adjourn,
Oh, yes, Larry.
I was, I have moved out of my ward. So I guess I would ask you what I need to do. Heretofore, I still have a house in this ward, but I have actually moved into Ward 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look. to see.
So if I need to put something in writing as far as to resign this position, if I stay here until you find a replacement, I'll have Bruce.
Next time, make a motion to adjourn.
I'll have Bruce advise me on that. Motion to adjourn.
Aye. I can't spend one night there.
That's what I didn't want to do.